The full moon hung low over Seattle, its light slicing through the apartment's blinds like a blade, casting silver stripes across Luca's trembling form. He was curled on the couch, claws digging into the cushions, shredding them as he fought the beast clawing inside him. I stood frozen in the doorway, my heart hammering. Knowing tonight was different. Knowing the man I'd lived with for 2 years was about to lose control. I'm Jamie Carter, a barista with dreams bigger than my paycheck. And Luca Delgado is my roommate, my best friend, and unbeknownst to me until 6 months ago, a werewolf. We met through a Craigslist ad, bonded over late-night tacos and bad sci-fi movies, and built a life in our cramped Capitol Hill apartment. But Luca's secret changed everything. He'd always been intense, all sharp jawlines and smoldering hazel eyes. But under the full moon, he became something else, something dangerous, primal, and, God help me, magnetic. Tonight, the air was thick with his scent, a mix of pine and musk that made my head spin. Jamie, he growled, his voice barely human. Get out. Now. But I couldn't move. His eyes, glowing gold in the dim light, pinned me in place. And for the first time, I saw not just the wolf, but the man fighting to protect me from himself. 6 months ago, Luca had confessed his truth after I caught him sneaking out at midnight, his clothes torn and his hands bloodied. I'm a werewolf, he'd said, his voice raw with shame. And I'll never let it hurt you. I swear. He'd kept that promise, locking himself in his room during full moons, leaving me to wonder about the man who shared my space but hid his heart. But tonight, the moon was relentless, and so was the pull between us. I took a step closer, my sneakers squeaking on the hardwood. Luca, you're not going to hurt me, I said, my voice shaking but firm. His head snapped up, and the look in his eyes, half agony, half hunger, sent a shiver down my spine. You don't understand, he rasped. It's not just the wolf. It's you. My breath caught. For months, I'd ignored the way my skin burned when he brushed past me in the kitchen, the way his laugh made my chest ache. Luca was off limits, not because he was a werewolf, but because he'd made it clear he couldn't risk loving me. I'm not fragile, I said, stepping closer still. And I'm not leaving you. His growl rumbled low, vibrating through the room. Jamie, I'm in heat. It's not just the moon, it's you. Your scent, your voice, it's driving me insane. He clutched the couch harder, tearing another gash in the fabric. If you stay, I won't be able to stop myself. I should have run. I should have listened to the warning in his voice, the danger in his trembling frame. But I'd spent too many nights lying awake, wondering what it would feel like to close the distance between us. Then don't, I whispered, and the world tilted. Luca was across the room in a heartbeat, his hands gripping my shoulders, his breath hot against my neck. You don't know what you're asking, he said, his voice a low, desperate plea. But his fingers tightened, and I saw a crack in his resolve, the longing he'd buried for years. I reached up, touching his face, feeling the stubble under my palm, the heat of his skin. I know exactly what I'm asking, I said. The air between us snapped like a live wire. His lips crashed into mine, fierce and hungry, and I kissed him back with everything I'd held back for months. It was reckless, dangerous, but it felt like coming home. His hands roamed my back, pulling me closer, and I could feel the wolf in him, wild, untamed, but still Luca, still the man who'd made me laugh until I cried, who'd stayed up with me when my dad got sick, who'd sworn to keep me safe. But the moment shattered. Luca tore himself away, stumbling back, his eyes wide with panic. No, he gasped, clawing at his chest like he could rip the wolf out. I can't do this. Not to you. Before I could stop him, he bolted for the door, the sound of it slamming echoing in my ears. I sank to the floor, my lips still tingling, my heart racing. The apartment felt empty without him, but his scent lingered, a promise and a warning. I didn't know where he'd gone, but I knew one thing. Luca couldn't run from this forever. And neither could I. The next morning, I woke to find Luca's room empty, his bed untouched. A note on the kitchen counter read, "I'm sorry. I need time." My stomach twisted. Luca had always come back after a full moon, bruised but whole, ready to pretend nothing had changed. But this time, I felt the weight of his absence, the fear that I'd pushed him too far. I spent the day at the coffee shop, pouring lattes and forcing smiles. But my mind was on Luca. My coworker, Mia, a sharp-tongued lesbian with a knack for reading people, noticed. "You look like someone ran over your dog," she said, tossing a rag over her shoulder. "Spill." I hesitated, then told her the basics minus the werewolf part. "My roommate. We kissed last night. And now he's gone." Mia raised an eyebrow. "Sounds like he's scared of what he feels. You gonna let him ghost you? Or you gonna fight for it?" Her words stuck with me. That night, I scoured the city, checking Luca's favorite spots: the dive bar on Pine Street, the park where he ran at dawn, the bookstore with the creaky floors. Nothing. By midnight, I was back on our rooftop, staring at the moon, now waning but still bright. That's when I heard Ida low, guttural howl, not far off. My heart leaped. "Luca!" I grabbed my jacket and ran, following the sound through the city's maze of alleys and neon lights. It led me to an abandoned warehouse by the waterfront, its windows shattered, its walls tagged with graffiti. The air was damp, heavy with the smell of salt and rust. I pushed open the rusted door, my pulse pounding. Inside, Lucas stood in the shadows, his shirt torn, his eyes still glowing faintly. "You shouldn't be here," he said, his voice rough. But I wasn't backing down. "You don't get to decide that." I shot back. "You don't get to kiss me, run away, and expect me to just let it go." He flinched, his hands balling into fists. "Jamie, I'm a monster. You deserve better than this, better than me." His words cut, but I saw the pain behind them, the fear of hurting me. I stepped closer, refusing to let him push me away. "You're not a monster," I said. "You're Luca, and I'm not going anywhere." For a moment, he just stared, his chest heaving. Then, slowly, he reached for me, his hand trembling as it brushed my cheek. "You're going to be the death of me," he murmured, but there was a softness in his voice, a surrender. We stood there, the world fading away, just the two of us in the dark, the moon our only witness. The warehouse was a cathedral of shadows, its broken beams and scattered debris lit by slivers of moonlight. Luca's touch lingered on my cheek, warm and tentative, but his eyes still held that wild edge, like a storm barely contained. I wanted to pull him closer, to drown in the heat of him, but the air was thick with unspoken truths, and I knew we weren't done fighting for each other, or against the beast inside him. "Tell me what's happening," I said, my voice steady despite the chaos in my chest. "All of it. No more secrets." Luca's jaw tightened, and he stepped back, running a hand through his dark hair. "You don't know what you're asking," he said, but there was no venom in it, just exhaustion. He sank onto a crate, his shoulders slumped, and for the first time, I saw how heavy his secret was. "I was 16 when it happened," he began, his voice low, like he was pulling the words from a wound. "A camping trip with my dad. We got attacked some rogue wolf. Crazed. Out of control. It bit me. And I changed." He looked at his hands, as if they still held the blood of that night. My dad didn't make it. I've been running from it ever since, trying to keep it locked away. But the heat, it's different. It's not just the wolf wanting out. It's wanting you. My heart stuttered. Me? I asked, though I already knew the answer. Luca's eyes met mine, raw and unguarded. You're my anchor, Jamie. The one thing that keeps me human. But during the heat, it's like the wolf knows, and it wants to claim you. I can't let that happen. I won't. I knelt in front of him, forcing him to look at me. You're not claiming me like some prize, I said fiercely. This is about us. About what we both feel. I'm not afraid of you. Luca, wolf or not. His breath hitched, and for a moment, I thought he'd kiss me again. But then a low growl rumbled from his throat, and he shoved himself to his feet, pacing like a caged animal. You should be afraid. He snapped. You don't know what I could do to you. What if I lose control? What if I hurt you? His voice cracked on the last word, and I saw the boy he'd been, the one who'd lost everything to the wolf. I stood, closing the distance between us. Then we figure it out together, I said. You don't get to run away and leave me behind. Before he could argue, a sharp sound cut through the air, a twig snapping outside. Luca's head whipped toward the door, his body tensing, and I felt a prickle of unease. Stay here, he whispered, but I grabbed his arm. Not a chance, I said, and we moved together, silent, toward the sound. Outside, the waterfront was eerily still, the only sound the lapping of waves against the dock. Then I saw them, 3 figures in the shadows, their eyes glinting with the same unnatural gold as Luca's. Werewolves. Luca Delgado, one of them called. A woman with a scar across her cheek. You've been dodging us for too long. Luca stepped in front of me, his stance protective. Leave him out of this. Mara, he growled. The woman Mara smirked, her gaze flicking to me. Your little human's got you in knots, hasn't he? That's why you're weak. The pack doesn't tolerate weakness. My stomach dropped. A pack. Luca had never mentioned others like him. What do they want? I whispered. But Luca's focus was on Mara. His body coiled like a spring. They want me to join them, he said quietly. Or they'll make me. Mara stepped closer, her 2 companions flanking her. The full moon's over. But your heat's not. We can smell it. And we can smell him. She jerked her chin at me, and my blood ran cold. Join us, Luca, or we take him instead. Rage flashed in Luca's eyes, and before I could blink, he lunged, tackling Mara to the ground. The other 2 wolves charged, and chaos erupted. I ducked behind a stack of crates, my heart pounding as snarls and the sickening crunch of fists on flesh filled the air. Luca was fast, stronger than I'd ever seen, but he was outnumbered. I couldn't just stand there. I grabbed a rusted pipe from the ground, my hand shaking, and swung it at the nearest wolf, catching him in the shoulder. He snarled, turning on me, but Luca was there in an instant, slamming him into the pavement. Stay back, Jamie, he roared, but I wasn't listening. I swung again, my arms burning, until the second wolf backed off, clutching his side. Mara was back on her feet, her eyes blazing. You're making a mistake. She spat at Luca. You can't protect him forever. With a sharp whistle, she called off her pack, and they melted into the shadows, leaving us panting in the moonlight. Luca turned to me, his face bruised, his shirt soaked with sweat. Are you okay? He asked, his voice rough with worry. I nodded, dropping the pipe, my hands trembling. You didn't tell me about them, I said, my voice sharper than I meant. What else are you hiding? He looked away, guilt written in every line of his body. I thought I could keep you out of it. He said. The pack. They've been after me since I left them years ago. They think I'm a liability. Living among humans. With you. He swallowed hard. I thought I could outrun them. I was wrong. I wanted to be angry. But all I felt was the ache of how much he'd carried alone. I stepped closer, resting my forehead against his. No more running. I said. We faced this together. His arms wrapped around me. And for a moment, the world was just us. Battered but unbroken. But the night wasn't done with us. As we headed back to the apartment, a faint glow caught my eye, a symbol carved into the warehouse wall. A crescent moon with claws. Luca's face paled when he saw it. They're not done, he whispered. They'll come for us again. Back in our apartment, the air was heavy with the weight of what we'd just survived. Luca locked the door, double-checking the deadbolt, his movements sharp and restless. I sank onto the couch, the adrenaline fading, leaving me raw and aching. The memory of his kiss still burned. But so did the image of those wolves, their eyes promising violence. We need to talk, I said, my voice cutting through the silence. Luca didn't look at me. He stood by the window, staring out at the city, his silhouette stark against the fading moonlight. I know, he said, his voice low, almost defeated. But you're not gonna like what I have to say. Then say it anyway. I shot back, standing up. No more half-truths. Luca, who are they? Why are they after you? And what the hell does it have to do with me? My voice cracked, betraying the fear I'd been holding back. Luca turned, his eyes softer now, but still haunted. They're the Cascade Pack, he said. I was one of them. Years ago, after the bite. They took me in, taught me how to survive as a wolf. But their rules, they're brutal. They don't trust humans. They think love makes you weak. He stepped closer, his hands twitching like he wanted to reach for me, but didn't dare. When I met you, I knew I couldn't stay with them. You made me want to be human again, Jamie. But the pack doesn't let go easily. They've been watching me, waiting for a reason to pull me back. And now, with the heat, he trailed off, his jaw tight. They know you're my weakness. I felt a pang in my chest, not just from fear, but from the weight of his words. I'm not your weakness, I said, my voice fierce. I'm your reason to fight. Luca's eyes flickered, and for a moment, I saw hope in them. But it vanished as quickly as it came. You don't get it, he said. If they can't have me, they'll hurt you to break me. I can't let that happen. I grabbed his hand, forcing him to look at me. Then we don't let them win, I said. We figure out how to stop them. Together. Luca's fingers tightened around mine. And for the first time that night, he didn't pull away. You're stubborn as hell, he muttered, a ghost of a smile on his lips. You know that. Learn from the best, I said. And he laughed. A small, broken sound that made my heart ache. We sat on the couch, his hand still in mine, and started planning. Luca told me about the pack's leader, Elias, a ruthless alpha who believed werewolves were superior to humans. He's the one calling the shots. Luca said, if we can get to him, we might have a chance. The next few days were a blur of preparation. Luca taught me how to spot a werewolf's signs, heightened senses, subtle shifts in posture, the faint glow in their eyes. I taught him how to trust, how to lean on me instead of carrying everything alone. We were a team, fragile but fierce, and every moment we spent together deepened the bond between us. A brush of his hand, a shared glance, a quiet laugh in the dark. It was more than attraction now. It was love, raw and undeniable. But the pack wasn't idle. On the third night, I woke to a scratching at the window, like claws on glass. Luca was already up, his body tense, his eyes scanning the dark. "They're here," he whispered. Before I could respond, the door splintered, and Mara burst in, flanked by two wolves I didn't recognize. "Time's up, Luca," she said, her voice cold. "Elias wants you. And you're human." Luca shoved me behind him, his growl vibrating through the room. "You're not touching him," he snarled. The fight was brutal, faster than the warehouse brawl. Luca was a blur of motion, his strength fueled by desperation. But the wolves were relentless. I grabbed a kitchen knife, my hand shaking, and slashed at one of them, drawing blood. Mara laughed, dodging Luca's punch. "Your boy's got spirit," she said. "Too bad it won't save him." I don't know how we survived. Luca took down one wolf, then another. But Mara was too fast. She pinned me against the wall, her claws at my throat. And for a moment, I thought it was over. But Luca roared, a sound that shook the walls, and tackled her, his eyes blazing gold. When the dust settled, Mara was gone, the other wolves unconscious on the floor. Luca was bleeding, his breath ragged, but he pulled me into his arms, holding me like I was the only thing keeping him grounded. "We can't stay here," he said, his voice hoarse. "Elias won't stop. We need to end this." I nodded, my heart pounding but resolute. We packed what we could clothes. Cash. A map and hit the road, heading for the Cascade Mountains, where Luca said the pack's territory began. The drive was tense, the silence broken only by the hum of the engine and the occasional brush of our hands. I didn't know what we'd face, but I knew I'd face it with him. As we reached the mountains, the air grew colder, the trees looming like silent sentinels. Luca pulled over, his face grim. "There's something else you need to know," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Elias, he's my brother." My jaw dropped. "Your brother?" I asked, stunned. Luca nodded, his eyes distant. "He was bitten the same night I was. But he embraced it. He thinks I betrayed him by choosing you." The weight of his words hit me like a punch. This wasn't just about us, Anna Maria, it was about family, loyalty, and a past Luca couldn't escape. "Then we'll face him together," I said, squeezing his hand. "No matter what." Luca looked at me, his eyes soft with something deeper than gratitude. "I don't deserve you," he said, and before I could argue, he kissed me, slow and deep, like it was the last time. The Cascade Mountains were a labyrinth of pine and shadow, the air sharp with the scent of earth and danger. Luca led the way, his senses heightened, every rustle in the trees making him tense. I followed close, my heart a drumbeat in my chest, the weight of Luca's confession about Elias heavy between us. We were walking into the heart of the pack's territory, and I wasn't sure we'd walk out. The plan was simple but terrifying: confront Elias, convince him to let Luca go, or fight. Luca had warned me that Elias wasn't just an alpha, he was a force of nature, his power amplified by years of embracing the wolf. "Stay close," Luca murmured, his hand brushing mine, a fleeting anchor in the chaos. I nodded, gripping the knife I'd tucked into my belt, knowing it was more for courage than actual defense. We reached a clearing at dusk, the sky bruised purple, the moon a faint crescent above. The pack was waiting, 10 wolves, their eyes glowing in the twilight. Elias at the center. He was taller than Luca, broader, with the same hazel eyes but none of his warmth. "You brought your human," Elias said, his voice smooth but laced with venom. "Bold move, little brother." Luca stepped forward, his stance defiant. "This ends tonight, Elias. I'm not joining you. And you're not touching Jamie." Elias laughed, a cold, hollow sound. You think you can choose him over your own kind. You're weak. Luca. Always have been. His gaze flicked to me, and I felt a chill, like prey in a predator's sights. But I'll give you a chance. Fight me. One-on-one. Winner takes all. My stomach twisted. Luca. No. I whispered. But he was already moving. His eyes locked on Elias. Stay back. Jamie. He said, his voice steady but tight. I wanted to scream, to drag him away. But I knew this was his fight, his chance to break free. The battle was brutal. Luca and Elias clashed like titans, their movements a blur of claws and teeth, human and wolf blurring together. The pack watched, silent, as blood stained the ground. I stood frozen, my heart in my throat. Every hit Luca took feeling like a blow to my own chest. He was fast, but Elias was stronger, and I saw Luca falter, his breath ragged, his body bruised. I couldn't stay silent. Luca, I shouted, stepping forward. You're not alone. The pack growled, but Elias held up a hand, his eyes narrowing. Your human's loyal, he said, dodging Luca's strike. Pity it won't save him. He lunged, pinning Luca to the ground, his claws at Luca's throat. I acted without thinking, charging forward with my knife, aiming for Elias's arm. It was a reckless move, but it gave Luca the opening he needed. He twisted free, tackling Elias, and in a flash, he had his brother pinned, his own claws at Elias's throat. Yield. Luca growled, his voice raw. Elias stared up at him, his eyes flickering with something like respect. You'd kill your own brother? He asked. Luca's hand trembled, but his voice was steady. I'd do anything for him. The words hit me like a wave, and I saw the truth in them, the love, the sacrifice, the man who'd chosen me over everything. Elias went still, then nodded, a slow, grudging surrender. You're not one of us anymore, he said, standing as Luca released him. But you're not free. The wolf will always be in you. He turned to the pack, his voice commanding. Leave them. One by one, the wolves melted into the trees, and Elias gave Luca one last look, part regret, part pride, before disappearing into the dark. Luca collapsed, bloodied and exhausted, and I ran to him, dropping to my knees. You're okay, I said, my voice breaking as I cupped his face. He leaned into my touch, his breath shaky. I'm sorry, he whispered. For all of it. I shook my head, tears burning my eyes. You fought for us. That's enough. We made it back to Seattle, battered but whole. The city's lights a beacon of home. The apartment felt different now. Not just a place, but a sanctuary. Luca's wounds healed, but the scars, physical and not, remained. We didn't talk about the pack, but we didn't need to. The danger was gone, at least for now, and what mattered was us. One night, under a new moon, Luca pulled me close on the rooftop, the city sprawling below us. I was wrong, he said, his voice soft but sure. You're not my weakness. You're my strength. I smiled, my heart full, and kissed him, the world fading to just the two of us. We weren't perfect, and the wolf would always be part of him, but we'd face it together, human, werewolf, and all the messy, beautiful things in between. The future wasn't certain, but as I held Luca under the stars, I knew one thing: love was worth the fight, and we'd keep fighting, for every moment, every touch, every tomorrow we could steal.